Among the data-bound controls provided by SimpleBind is the tooltip. A tooltip can be placed on any UI element to allow a templated pop-up to appear to the user when the mouse hovers over the UI element. The data that is displayed in the tooltip can be a simple static message or it can be bound to the binding context of the UI element. In this video, we will be covering how to build this basic demo scene that has two rectangles, each with a unique tooltip. As I hover over each element, you will see the tooltip appear. As long as the mouse pointer is over the tooltip or the image, the tooltip will be displayed. If the mouse pointer leaves one of these two areas, the tooltip will disappear. There are two key components that allow the tooltip to work properly. The tooltip definition, as we can see on the image, tooltip script, and also the tooltip controller. The tooltip controller must be placed on a UI element above the UI element with the tooltip. Typically, the controller will be placed on the canvas. The tooltip controller allows defaults to be used across tooltips and coordinates the showing and hiding of tooltips across multiple UI elements. To get started, let's go ahead and create a new scene. Set our main camera to a solid color. And let's add a basic UI image into our scene. We'll make sure that image is centered in our scene. Next, select the canvas and let's add a tooltip controller. You will notice the tooltip controller has a field for the default template. SimpleBind ships with a simple text tooltip that we will use as the default value. Open the Assets, SimpleBind, Controls, and Tooltip, and you will see the text tooltip template. Simply drag that tooltip template into the default template. This will now allow tooltips that do not specify a specific template to use the text tooltip template by default. If we take a look at the text tooltip template, we will see that it is made up of two game objects. The parent object used for layout and a child object used to display the text. The components on the text tooltip template consist of an image used for background color, a horizontal layout group, and a content size fitter. There's also a binding behavior and a binding context used to bind data to the text controls. When creating a new tooltip template, it is a good idea to simply copy the text tooltip template and make changes as needed. This way, the top level layout remains consistent. With the default template set, we will now add our tooltip to the image. Let's go ahead and select the image, and we're going to add a tooltip. The tooltip has several fields that can control the display of individual tooltip. First is the template. If a template is specified, then it will be used for this tooltip. If it is left blank, then the default tooltip template defined on the tooltip controller will be used. In this demo, for now, we will leave this blank. Next is the text field. Many times a tooltip is simply static text that needs to be displayed. In that case, you can simply add the text in here. This text will be set as the binding context on the tooltip template when it is instantiated. If a static text is not desired, but a more dynamic value is needed as the binding context for the tooltip, then you can check the Use Binding Context checkbox, and the binding context of the current game object will be passed as the binding context to the tooltip template. In a future release, we plan on making the binding more dynamic, allowing you to bind to any other component you need to. The last field is the delay. This value represents the amount of time in seconds that the tooltip controller will delay before displaying the tooltip to the user. For this demo, the only field we will update is the text, and we will set it simply to I am a tooltip. If we go ahead and we run the scene, we will see that the tooltip is working as intended. As I hover over the image, the tooltip pops up with the text that I had specified. Next, let's go ahead and add a second image to our scene, and we'll move it slightly off center and a little bit lower. And let's go ahead and change the color just so we can see it a little bit differently. Again, we will add a tooltip component to the front image. And let's go ahead and set this text to simply front image tooltip. If we go ahead and run this scene again, we will notice that as I hover over the back image, we see the I am a tooltip. When I hover over the front image, you'll see front image tooltip. The tooltip being displayed is the one that we had set up for each one of the objects. Now what we will do is we will create a custom tooltip template that is based off the text tooltip template. To do this, we will simply duplicate the text tooltip template by using Control D. And let's go ahead and let's rename this to yellow tooltip template. And just to keep things straight, let's go ahead and move this template out into the root assets directory. Now on this tooltip, let's go ahead and change the background color to be a yellow. And let's go ahead and change our text to be a larger font. Let's say 21. Now what we will do is we will select the second image, which is our front image, and on our tooltip, we will simply drag the yellow tooltip template into the template field. So now anytime this tooltip is shown, it will use the yellow tooltip template instead of the default template. Let's go ahead and run our scene again. And you'll notice as I hover over the white image, we get the default tooltip, I am a tooltip. But now as I hover over the blue image in front, you'll notice that we're now using the yellow tooltip template. Yellow background with larger font. Tooltips are working exactly as we would have expected them to. And that is how easy it is to add tooltips using SimpleBind. Tooltips can become much more complex with much more complex data context, binding context, or data templates. Thank you for your interest in SimpleBind, and as always, more features and videos will be coming soon.